Hello and welcome everyone. You've got Marcel here. For today's discussion, I want to offer a challenge to the men that are listening. Now, it is possible if a person doesn't succeed at this or isn't even willing to try it, even willing to give it a shot, that you could learn something about yourself and your mind frame at this time. So it doubles as both a mental exercise and an interesting way to get perspective on a new way to live life. What caused me to want to make this video is the astounding number of men on my channel that will come up and will push this idea of dating while going MGTOW or hooking up with women, one-night stands, you know, the whole 9 yards. Essentially doing pretty much everything a blue pill guy would do, only with the backed up knowledge of understanding more about female nature. Some may call this being purple pilled. Some may also say that those who are MGTOW who are also not interested in dating or dealings with women in a romantic nature whatsoever are considered MGTOW monk, and they will separate them into a separate category entirely. There are varying degrees on both sides of that too. You could go to the extreme of like nofap, for example, which I'm not going to be digging into with this video. For this mental exercise to work, consider what I'm about to suggest seriously, as if you were to actually implement this challenge in your life. I suggest to any man that he go 1 year without women. Now, what do I mean by that? So that would cover no dating, no hitting on, no going to bars and trying to fraternize with them. Just avoid the concepts of romance and dating entirely. Don't give them any undue interests or attention that you wouldn't have to, other than obviously working and dealing with them as customers and stuff. You know, there's limits to what you can remove from your life, but just 1 year. And don't give them any attention. And be clear, there is a difference between a man who is not hooking up with women because they can't, and they're okay with that, and a man who chooses not to engage with women regardless of whether or not they could be with them. So now, picture that in your mind, going away from women for an entire year. Some of you are going to be like, well, I'm doing that anyway. And then there's a great deal of you that are listening right now who are going to be affected by that concept. The idea of not being able to approach and interact with women for an entire year. If you can perceive within yourself, or especially if you're irritated by the fact that I would suggest that, it's very telling that you may be more interested, connected, even addicted to women than you may be willing to admit. One of the more common responses I suspect will be, what if I meet the woman of my dreams and I miss my chance because I'm not interested in dating her at that time? I'll be getting to that one at the end of the video. When I suggested on a previous video that MGTOW should not date, I got waves of comments of people saying that, they can do whatever they want, and that I shouldn't say that, and that dating is fine, and hell, there's even major creators that condone and encourage dating, which just baffles me. Nonetheless, though, to clarify, if my suggesting that elicited or caused an emotional response from you, or from anyone out there, it truly does show the perspective of the person involved. I would suspect that a great number of men who are listening to these videos trying to understand their message are doing it more from a PUA perspective. They plan on retailoring the tools they learn here to be more successful and less vulnerable when dealing with women. Now, I don't have an issue with that, but are they actually aware of what they're doing? I've had a lot of my viewers comment that, most red pill guys are a blowjob away from being blue pill, and I think that that's very true. Of course, not to be insulting, it's just the way that it is. Now, if a man were to actually attempt to do that challenge, it would show him a couple of different things. Firstly, one possible outcome, let's call it the best case scenario, is he succeeds in not attempting to date or chasing women for an entire year. For those of us who have been in the dating scene for a while and tried it out, even successfully in the sense that you got a lot of dates out of it, they're quite expensive. So the financial benefit would be there. Furthermore, the amount of time that was originally directed towards women, chasing them, giving them attention, could be then used for self-improvement and other things in the man's life. So there would be a benefit there. Maybe he spends more time at the gym, more time learning his hobbies, or putting effort into his career. Finally, and as a reminder, I'm not talking about nofap here, after a few months, one realizes that the things that they were pursuing so hard before become less interesting. They become less necessary. As I'm currently making this video, I'm actually breaking my caffeine addiction. I'm a couple of days into it. My videos are not published in sequence or in order, so you'll get a video later that says I'm 1 day into it. This is basically day 3, and I already feel a little clearer, a little more energetic. Though I'm having a hard time focusing, and I realize that's one of the main drawbacks of quitting. You don't think about it when you're having 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day. You just kind of feel normal, and you don't process how much of an effect it actually has on you until you've quit it. And you're like, oh geez, this hurts. When it comes to any kind of addiction, as long as you're getting your fix, it's not a big deal. It's just whatever, it's not a big deal. You're just doing it. But the minute you run out or you're not able to act on it anymore, then suddenly it becomes a big deal. Women and the feeling that men get, the euphoria of getting that attention back, of getting that smile, that giggle, that rub on the shoulders, that feeling that men get from attention, from validation, that is addictive. The human mind is designed to make it pleasurable for a reason. It's propagation of the species. And it's possible to get female validation, attention even, without it leading to anything sexual. But a lot of the situations that play out wind up with the guy getting used. Yeah, he goes out on a nice night, he gets some attention, she laughs at all of his jokes, but at the end of the day, she goes home and doesn't even give him a kiss on the cheek. The male mind is forcing him forward, pushing him to get more and more attention to the ends of reproduction, but that's not the way society's using him. Nonetheless, the attention that he gets is just enough to keep him going, to keep him trying. If he can go a few months, let alone a year, with the intent of not pursuing women, I get that some guys are camels. Hell, I was married and went over a year one time without getting any attention or affection, and it sucked. Of course, in that time frame, it wasn't by choice. The point that I'm trying to get to is there is a vast amount of mental resources, energy that is put into women, even if indirectly, by men simply because that's how they're wired. It takes a lot of effort to actually switch that over to where that energy can be put into something productive. And these guys that are demanding or insisting that men should be dating regardless of whether or not they've gone MGTOW or have any MGTOW philosophy whatsoever, either don't realize the benefits of being able to redirect their thought or are incapable of doing so. Now, regardless of what a guy's ultimate goals are, whether or not they want to eventually land a wife and have a family or hook up with women randomly, or are just reluctant to accept that the dating game is rigged and it's not worth their time, keep a couple of things in mind. Firstly, that a man's value goes up over time. Men age like wine, women age like milk. While keeping that in mind, it's fair to say that a man who waits a year is going to be more attractive, more valuable, and have more accessible women than he did the year prior. The idea of that one true perfect woman slipping by is ridiculous. That's the very thought process that keeps men trapped and chasing, skanky hoes that aren't actually going to give them any attention or are not worth their time, and then women that are just serial daters that are only interested in their resources. If the right woman, let's say if a person believed in fate, If she were to be out there waiting for him, she could wait a year for him. Not to mention, if the guy's out there chasing around and dating a bunch of skanky hoes and women that are not the best for him in the first place, he wouldn't notice that perfect woman because he's too distracted anyway. Keeping in mind, I still don't condone dating or chasing them in the first place. Now, every relationship that I've ever seen has been circumstantial. The right things at the right time with the right people, boom, you got a relationship. More of a numbers game, but the idea of going out and chasing people constantly hoping to find Mrs. Right is ridiculous. I'm gambling by this suggestion, this whole idea through this video, that if a guy were to actually wait a year, he would realize that women are not as relevant as he thought they were, and be a lot more successful. But even if I'm wrong, and the man chooses to go right back into the dating scene, he's gonna be more successful, more powerful, and ultimately have a clearer image of what he really wants. So this is a kind of scenario that the guy wins, the one who listens to me wins either way. Let me know what you think down below. Am I beating a dead horse here? Just seemed like a good idea to throw that challenge out there and see what people said. If you want to hear more content like mine, hit that thumbs up, share, and subscribe, because until next time, you've got Marcel.